What is up, everybody? Night Batman here with another movie review, and today I'm gonna be reviewing a movie I am really excited for 2016, and that is the latest entry in the Star Wars franchise and also a prequel to Episode 4, A New Hope, Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, this is actually my second time to do this review because the first time I was kind of sick and I just really wasn't pleased with how I did that review. Like, I felt like I could have done better because this movie deserves a better review. So this is my second attempt. So let's get to it. Now, this movie is basically about the Rebel Alliance finding out that the evil Empire has created a powerful new weapon called the Death Star. So they try to find the plans to the Death Star, which could expose a strong weakness in it. And this movie is basically just how the Rebel Alliance gets their hands on the plans for the Death Star, which really helps set up for Star Wars Episode 4. The main story follows Jyn Erso, played by Felicity Jones. Now, Jyn Erso is the daughter of a character named Garen Erso, and he is responsible for helping to create the Death Star. Now, what I really like is how Felicity Jones plays this character of Jyn, who is a very strong, independent character who also has a very soft spot and is a character you can really empathize for and really root for in the end of the story. And I love how she goes from being a rebel herself to being a very good team player and showing her compassion for others. And the rest of the cast is really great. It's a really great ensemble cast, a really great choice of actors, and a really great group of characters as well. A lot of them have their strong points and their weaknesses, and I love how they bring so much to the table and really make for a really great story to watch unfold. And I love especially the character of Chirrut Imwe. He's like probably one of my new favorite characters in the Star Wars saga and in the franchise, and I think he brings some good humor and also some good wiseness, and his action scenes are also really cool to watch because his fight scenes are just so well choreographed. The rest of the cast are really good as well. The android K2SO is so funny. I love his attitude sometimes and how he's kind of awkward because he's a little too straightforward. And that's what also really separates Rogue One from the rest of the Star Wars franchise. A lot of them have really good humor, but this has the most humor I've seen in a Star Wars movie. And also, this is probably one of the most entertaining Star Wars movies that I've seen. It has a really good story that flows very well in how we see how this group of rebels and outcasts come together to help the Rebel Alliance in getting one step closer to bringing the Empire down, and also just making for a lot of really good action. The action scenes are really intense and really fun to watch. Once the action scenes start in the movie, I think that first action scene all the way to the end of the movie just really does not slow down in its pacing. The pacing is maybe a little slow for some people in the beginning, but for me it wasn't really slow at all, especially because it just went full throttle once the first action scene kicked in. And the one little complaint I had though on my first viewing, because I saw this movie twice. I saw it on the premiere night on December 15 with my friends, and then I watched it again last night on December 17 with my girlfriend. And the one main problem was that the pacing, at least on the first viewing, was that it felt like it was kind of jumping between different planets and scenes, like, a little too abruptly. Like, it felt a little too unstable for me. Like, maybe it kind of needed to slow down or take a little longer in the places, and maybe explain first who these characters were. But then once it starts to explain the characters more from there, and it starts to jump a little less between planets and characters, that's when the story is a lot easier to follow and it starts to become a lot clearer. Also, what I love about what Gareth Edwards, the director, does in this movie is that if you look at his past films like Monsters and especially Godzilla, this guy really knows how to film scope. I've never seen the Death Star feel more massive as it does here than it did in past movies. This is like the most sense of scale I've ever gotten with the Death Star, and I really love how he did that. Even when we first see the AT-ATs, when they come out of the smoke, and how it's just so intimidating and it's just so simple but so effective. Like, man, he really knows how to shoot these classic elements of Star Wars that we all know and love. And his action scenes really emphasize the wars in Star Wars. I mean, the action scenes are so intense. The shootouts are so intense as well. Everything, even the space battles are so fun to watch. I love how, even again, back to the way he shoots, he really brings you in the middle of it. When you're watching when you see the Death Star, it's like you're standing right there with the characters, looking at everything upwards, seeing how massive everything is. Or it even feels like you're riding on a X-wing, and you're right in the middle of the fight, the action scenes. It's just so cool, and he really knows how to shoot this film. And I think that out of all the Star Wars movies, this one has the best cinematography ever. Every scene is so well shot. Every action scene is so clear and so easy to follow. It makes for a really fun movie, and just a great movie overall. I just have to really relish in how great this movie succeeded in certain elements. Now, that main thing I'm gonna talk about is Darth Vader. This is the Darth Vader I've been waiting for. I liked him in all movies I've seen. I've liked how they set up his character, but he didn't, to me, feel like a threat that he had imposed, that he had felt like towards the galaxy. But when I see him in this one scene in that third act, and I'm sure all of you will know, that was the most memorable Darth Vader scene I've ever seen, and my favorite scene of Darth Vader, and really helped propel him in my list of favorite characters in Star Wars. I've always liked Anakin Skywalker. I really liked how complicated he was, but when he became Darth Vader, for some reason, it just kind of dropped for me. But when seeing Darth Vader in this, man, he just really skyrocketed on my list. And we don't see him too much, but I feel like what we've seen is enough. That first scene, I honestly had my jaw just dropped. Because we first see him without the armor, but it's not, or without the suit, but it's not too much without the suit. But then when we finally see him in the suit, it's so epic. We hear the Imperial March theme as he's on screen, and it's just so great. Also hearing his classic voice come on screen, and it's just such a great joy and thrill to see this. Now, there are also so many Easter eggs in this movie. They really do show a lot of characters that will show up in Episode 4: A New Hope, and I really love how this does a great job of setting up for A New Hope. I won't say how. This is a perfect setup for A New Hope. I really feel like, even though this is a spin-off and it is kind of like a standalone, I think that this is like a really extended prologue for Episode 4: A New Hope. And I know you guys are gonna want to watch Episode 4: A New Hope right after you see Rogue One, because that's how good of a setup it is. I love the music by Michael Giacchino. I honestly am surprised that it's not even done by John Williams, because this composer does a great job of not only adapting the music of John Williams, but also making the score his own, and doing what he does best, while also trying to make it have that same Star Wars John Williams vibe. And I think he just did a really great, phenomenal job with the music in this, especially when it came to the emotional scenes. The emotions in this have never felt more impactful than they did in, like, maybe the original trilogy, or even in Episode 3, where emotions were really high. So Michael Giacchino, you did an amazing job. I'm so pleased with what I heard in this movie as I'm watching it. It just really did help, bring the story to us viewers even more impactfully. And I hope I'm not overhyping you guys, but I really do feel like this movie does deserve hype. I think this movie is way up there in my list of favorite Star Wars movies. This could almost be my favorite by far. I think it actually could be. You have some really great villains in this. I won't say who else is in this. There is one villain who appeared, who I was so surprised, because I try not to watch too much TV spots. I don't know if the TV spots exposed it, but I know the trailers definitely didn't show it. But yeah, the trailers, but I know that the main trailers hid away from one main villain, and I'm glad that they didn't really expose him, because I was so surprised seeing him there. Overall, I gotta give this movie a 4.5 out of 5. This is my favorite Star Wars movie by far, and I think that looking at it, maybe the 3D could even be worth it, but even if you watch it in 2D, either way, just go see this movie, because even if you're not really a Star Wars fan, I think you can enjoy it for what it is, just a really good movie. And if you even think about it, the movies did start off with Episode 4: A New Hope, which was back then just Star Wars. So if you watch this, it's like you can just watch a prequel to that. So you can watch Rogue One, and then you can already just start with Episode 4, 5, and 6, and then if you really like it, you can even go straight on to Episodes 1, 2, and 3 to complete the franchise. franchise. And you know, it's Star Wars. You gotta get into it. It's a big staple in cinema history. It's a big influence also in pop culture. And you know, where would we be without Star Wars, honestly? So you guys have got to go check out Rogue One: A Star Wars Story in theaters now. Really great film, really fun movie, really emotional, really intense action, really great film to watch. I cannot commend this movie anymore. I hope I'm not overhyping it, but I just loved it that much. Thank you guys for watching and take care. Later.